Hello, Facebook. It's Regina again. So thanks for joining me again for part 2 of my Lyme disease journey. So this leg or this section of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my symptomology and just the diagnosis that I got of late-stage Lyme disease. So just to kind of rehash what I shared in video 1, I was diagnosed in 2017, in November of 2017, with late-stage Lyme disease, Bartonella and Babesia, which are two co-infections that can come along with Lyme disease that are carried by ticks as well, that just kind of make recovery and some of your symptoms a little more harder to treat. Lyme disease is very stigmatized, it's very misunderstood, and it can be extremely debilitating for some people. So I just, part of me wants to share that too, to rehash that, just to bring awareness to the devastation that Lyme disease can bring to the body. Allie Hilfiger, who is a famous clothes designer, she struggled with Lyme disease for many years, and she said it's so crazy how a little bite, so small, can give you such a small and dismal quality of life. And I have seen it firsthand in friends that I've met and people that have been living with Lyme disease for years, how debilitating some of these symptoms can be. So just to kind of bring awareness to that, and I'll just kind of start from the beginning. Last May of 2017 is when I started having symptoms. It started with severe joint pain, muscle pain, fatigue were my three first kind of main symptom set. Hard to get out of bed in the morning, just really bad in my lower body. Chalked it up to I'm getting older, working out maybe a little bit more. My husband and I had been kind of running again, training for a 5K, so I'm like, oh, it's just my old body. But it was really prohibiting me from getting out of bed in the morning and just lasting a lot longer than just sore muscles and sore, it was really in my bones, and I really knew it was kind of atypical for me. The fatigue was very severe, almost narcoleptic at times. I literally could have fallen asleep doing the dishes or even doing something active, whether it was riding a bike or going on a walk. I was just so tired, and it was unrelented by naps or how much sleep I got. I really was struggling with lots of fatigue. It was like my body fighting the infection, which I didn't know. Like when you're sick, you rest so you can get well and your body can heal and get better. And that's kind of what I was doing day after day. It was a period of time where I could only be awake for a couple hours. So I'd wake up and like 2 hours go by and I'd have to sleep, like no questions asked. I had to lay down, and then to wake up, I'd feel okay. And then literally 2 hours later, I had to sleep. And then I would go to bed at night and sleep a full 8 hours. It was, well, I had insomnia in there, but other than that, it was just like my body just could not get rested enough. So I did have insomnia with that as well. Lots of trouble with that. Flu-like symptoms. So this came kind of in the summertime last summer, and just like never left me. So I'm like, oh, I'm getting the flu. We can power through this, and it just never left. So I dealt with those flu-like symptoms for months on end without much relief. So the achiness, the chills, feeling like you got hit by a bus or beat up, that achiness of the flu, the headaches, so groggy and just really tired. So flu for months, never ending. That was horrible. The night sweats were really bad. Could just literally wring out my clothes in the night. Not like dripping. I mean, like wring them out. I was having panic attacks. I refused to leave my house for a period of time. The littlest thing would give me anxiety, which was so new for me. I never had anxiety over like the things that I was having anxiety over. So it really was not becoming myself. I just felt my personality slipping away. I felt, and people with Lyme disease I know can relate to this, but just that feeling that this foreigner is in your body, like something is overtaking your body, and I had bad vertigo, dizziness, and migraines kind of came in another symptom set. So dizzy all the time. Always feel like I was like, if you've ever had vertigo, I could not do simple things like ride a bike anymore or swing with my kids, and even going for a walk sometimes. I would just be everything would make me dizzy. And just that spinning feeling when you have vertigo and stuff, and the headaches, obviously those are not fun for anybody ever. And then came the lovely neurological symptoms. So these came, and I really struggled when these started coming to the surface. And at that point, I didn't know, but medically speaking and biologically speaking, the Lyme bacteria had gotten into my brain, and it can attack the central nervous system and create all sorts of bizarre, strange symptoms. So it started with some mood disturbances. I was really, really moody up and down, almost felt a little bipolar at times, really bad neuropathy. So tingling, numbness, and a slight paralysis in my extremities at times. I would wait, literally lost count of the times I woke up in the night, flung off my covers, and I'm screaming, I'm paralyzed. I can't move my legs. My legs had lost feeling. I couldn't feel them, or my arm. Lots of localized weakness in my right side of the body. Still have troubles with the right side of my body. Almost a little like stroke-like maybe a little bit. And then, eventually I would get the feeling back. Or what's even creepier is when you can't feel your legs, but then you see them moving and you're like, oh, well, I'm glad they're moving, but I don't feel them moving. So which is even more strange. But just some desensitized to things like hot water. I couldn't feel that it was hot or cold. Cramping, could not really write anymore. I could only write 1 or 2 words at a time, and my whole arm would go numb or weak or cramp. Dropping everything. Literally picked my son up out of the crib one day, and he just fell right. I mean, luckily he was old enough toddler. He was an infant, but dropped right to the floor. I couldn't notice or tell the strength in my own arms. Lots of loss of motor control, uncoordinated all of a sudden, literally dropping glass. I don't know how many dishes I broke, dropping glasses and dishes, unloading the dishwasher or serving meals. Lots of memory problems, Still having troubles with my memory, but there are chunks of periods of my life and even throughout my sickness and even before, my sickness, that people will be talking about something and I'll just have this chunk of time that I don't remember, that I've just from Lyme disease kind of messing with my brain. Lots of cognitive dysfunction, so I couldn't compute math in my head anymore. Couldn't figure that out, make change. I'm like, oh my golly. Terrible troubles reading. Love to read. I've always been a big reader, but I'd be reading a book to my kids at night, and I would fumble over the words, and I would just forget the words. I would forget the word when. What's that word? I've seen that word before. Inability to almost read. Flipping them around in different spaces. So very dyslexic in that way too. So really started to scare myself a little bit with those. A really bad word recall. So I would see something on the counter, or I'd say, Janie, grab me those. And I'd see scissors there, and I couldn't think of what the scissors were called. I knew they were scissors, but I just couldn't think of what the name was. So nouns were dissipating from my memory in my life. Started stuttering, developed a stammer, could not have a conversation with somebody without stopping every 2 seconds to gather my thoughts. Troubles processing things, could not follow directions for my life. Developed hand tremors in both of my hands, mainly my right side. Still dealing with this, but it's getting a lot better. So very Parkinsonian-like symptoms of the tremors. Dementia-like episodes, getting lost in familiar places, pulling all over all alongside of the road because I was lost, didn't know where I was going, even if it was a familiar place, or not remembering why I even got in the van in the first place. Where am I going? Had to ask my kids millions of questions, where are we going? Did I say we were going to the park, or where are we headed? I don't even know. And then one morning, I'll never forget, I got my kids up. I was barking at them to eat breakfast because we had a chiropractor appointment. My son had a chiropractor appointment, and I'm like, let's go get dressed, get shoes on. And literally 30 minutes go by, and Janie was like, Mom, when are we leaving for the chiropractor? And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot we even had a chiropractor appointment. And I'm like, that's the reason I was yelling at you and barking at you in the first place. So I would see things I would see my laundry folded, or I would and not know who did it, because I'm like, I don't remember doing it. Who folded my laundry? It had to be me. So that would be really upsetting to me because I couldn't ever remember doing that. One more story. This is funny in hindsight. We're outside playing. My husband calls and he's like, Regina, I'm in Wasian. Do you want me to bring home supper? And I'm like, that'd be awesome. I have not had a chance to get supper started. It's been a crazy day with the kids. And so I'm like, yay, we're getting Arby's or whatever. I don't even remember. And so then I get inside and I look at my counter, and my crock pot, I had supper started in my crock pot hours ago. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. But the thing is I didn't remember doing that. So I had to open up the crock pot lid and look and see what was inside. And I'm like, and then I would cry and sob and call him and be like, I don't even remember making supper. And I made it because obviously it's right here. Unless there's someone in my house doing it for me that I don't know. But, so just really things chunks of time disappearing from my memory. Complete blank slate. Just lots of trouble with my memory. Visual disturbances, I'm still struggling with these. These are getting a little better. But things in my peripheral vision just amplified. So whether it's just someone walking by or a little fly buzzing by, it just really startles me, and just really kind of upsets me. It always makes me jump and makes my heart skip a beat. So it's not like floaters or I'm not seeing things that aren't there, but something happens in my peripheral vision and I'm just like, it just really induces a lot of panic. Let's see. So those were the main ones. And never knowing what time of the day it was, waking up and not knowing what day it was. Every morning I had to look at, I don't sleep by my phone, but I had my calendar beside my bedside because I never knew what day it was. Didn't know if it was Monday, Tuesday, maybe on a good day I could tell you what month it was. I was really struggling with my memory. It was rapidly deteriorating. And it was hard because I don't think people really knew what was going on behind our door, because we didn't share with a lot of people because I didn't know myself what was going on, and I didn't feel myself, and I didn't feel like I could even communicate with people what was going on because I had a hard time communicating, and I was so emotional, and I was so sick, and my symptoms were so bad. I mean, I was canceling plans for everything. I was just like, I am a hermit. I'm never leaving my house again, and all those things that come along with chronic pain and illness. So I was tested for everything under the sun. And things started coming back clear. This is fine. I did test positive for mono along the way in my journey, but I just knew it was way more than that. So a lot of my doctors thought it was MS because I saw a neurologist and I saw a couple of other doctors for some second and third opinions, and everything came back clear. So I was kind of given the wait and see approach. Okay, if symptoms get worse, come back and we'll test again. We'll run these scans again. But all the MRI came back clear, the scans of my brain came back clear, and so I just was given some pain medicine, some steroids. Here you go. Let us know if things get worse. And it was during that time that I just felt my health rapidly deteriorating, and I knew I could not. I distinctly remember driving home from one of my appointments and I literally had to pull over on the side of the road because I was bawling so hard. And I was like, I cannot continue like this. I'm months from now, weeks from now. If I don't get better, I'm gonna be in the grave. Like, I cannot, my body is going to give out, my brain, I'm gonna be this vegetable laying there who doesn't even know her kids' names. Like, I knew something else was going on. So, and I'm not saying my doctors didn't know what was going on, or I didn't doubt them. I just knew my body, and I knew at some point I had to be an advocate for myself and be like, okay, hey, this is what we need to maybe pursue. So Lyme disease was kind of brought up a few times. I was actually tested for it multiple different times after begging for it, and it came back negative. So then I just really started researching a lot about Lyme disease because I had a funky bite I mentioned in my last video. So I'm like, we need to just check this out and see if this could be it. So I started reading awesome books by some awesome Lyme doctors. And I started learning a lot, and a lot of the symptoms matched up with mine. Even though my symptoms were very MS-like, they did also line up with my symptoms. And so I started treating myself with some herbal therapies mentioned in this Unlocking Lyme book. I recommend this to anyone who thinks they might have Lyme disease or actually does have a diagnosis of Lyme disease. It's a great place to start. And I started implementing some herbal therapies and some diet therapies, and I started getting a little better. My symptoms started getting a little better, and I started having some improvement. So I'm like, okay, if I'm treating myself for Lyme disease and I'm getting better, I'm not a doctor, I'm not claiming to be at all, but I knew that this is probably what I had if I was getting better and I was treating it. So fast forward to when I saw my Lyme doctor. So I was doing these therapies and treatments while I was waiting to see my Lyme doctor because he was like a 2.5 month wait. So I had a while to wait to see him, and I knew, like I said, I needed to do something because my health was just deteriorating so fast. So yeah, so when I met with him, he did some further lab testing, some more different credible labs, some different types of Lyme testing that I kind of break away from the normal conventional way, and yeah, I was just diagnosed with Lyme, Babesia, and Bartonella, like I said, and also some secondary infections of Candida, which made my recovery process even a little harder. So he put me on some continued protocols of what I was already doing, plus some other things, and I'm going to share that in my next video. Some of the natural things that I'm doing to get well, that my doctor's helping with, but also things that I'm doing on my own through my own research and advocacy to get well. So I am going to put a link in the comments. It's just a little questionnaire. If you are just watching this and you're like, I have been sick for years and years and years, and no doctor has ever been able to tell me what's wrong, this is a great questionnaire. It's not saying you have Lyme or anything like that, but it's just a tool you can use to bring to your doctor and say, hey, look, I have these symptom sets, and can we please look at maybe me being tested for Lyme disease? It's way more common than what people think. So yeah, hopefully that was way longer than I wanted it to be, but hopefully that gives you an idea of kind of my symptomology and what we did in the medical world or realm. And yeah, stay tuned for section 3 or part 3 of the videos that I am doing. I'm going to be sharing those things I just mentioned. And I know even if you don't have Lyme, but you have an autoimmune issue or chronic illness or chronic pain, or just poor health, I just hope you stay tuned. I'm not a doctor, but I've learned so much on my road from others and from medical literature that I just want to share with you. So, all right, have a great night, guys. We'll see ya.